Hello everyone. Welcome to Algebra 2 Homework 1.3, Properties of Real Numbers. We'll jump right into it and take it from there. So to start it off, write down hints for each property below. I know this might sound silly, but it really helps solidify these in your memory when you actually write down something else that associates it with what it actually means. So commutative property for me means order. Let me make my pen a little bit smaller here. Is order. The associative property for me, just grouping. I always forget identity. Let's skip over to inverse. That's just the opposite, so inverted. And when I think inverted, I'm thinking, if you have 1 over x times x over 1, that's going to equal 1. That's what I think of when I think of inverted. The distributive property is just distributed. And the identity property, I always get inverse and identity confused when I'm looking at them until I remember what the inverse is, the inverted, so identity is just unchanged. And now, to jump straight down, I'm going to keep the hints just visible above there to help us out here. So identify the property used in the expressions below. 3x plus 2y plus 4z equals 3x plus 4z plus 2y. So we're flipping the order. Even though the 3x is unchanged, we're not grouping anything different. The order is what changed here. So what we're looking at here is the commutative property. So this next one here would be if x equals 0, then 4y plus 7x equals 4y. Nothing immediately jumps out to me for this until I remember this identity property right here. Basically means unchanged. So if we were to basically write this out, we'd have 4y plus 7 times 0, which really is just 0, equals 4y. Now it's pretty apparent that what we're looking at is the identity property. 4y plus 0 is unchanged. I'll actually leave that up. So not unchanged. We don't want to write the hint. We want to write what it actually is. This is the identity property. And the one right below here, we have 4t over 12s times 12s over 4t equals 1. And that's a pretty direct example of what I wrote right here, the inverse property. So we're just looking at the inverse property. This next one here is 14x plus 15y plus 13z, but these first two quantities are grouped together, plus 14x plus 15y plus 13z, and these ones are grouped together. So let's see, those are the same, 15y and 15y, and 14x and 14x. So the order didn't change, but the grouping definitely did. So this is just the associative property. And if you want to, you can use a process of elimination. We've used the commutative, the associative, the identity, the inverse, but I mean, this is also just 4x distributed twice. So this is just the distributive property. Distributive property. Perfect. Moving on down. Write an example of each property listed. Now, if you guys just took the examples right above that you already figured out and changed them just a little bit or didn't change them at all, that's fine. I'm actually okay with that. Just to get practice writing these down, I'll switch up the order. The most basic one that I used in notes is 1 plus 2 equals 3, and 2 plus 1 equals 3. The order doesn't matter. For the associative property, that's grouping. So let's just stick to 1, 2, and 3. So 1 plus 2 plus 3, and if we draw brackets around the first two, equals 1 plus 2 plus 3. We'll draw brackets around the last ones. And remember, it's also multiplication, so we'll use multiplication for the next couple ones here. The identity is that 0 property. So what we're looking at here for the identity property would be 1 in terms of multiplication. So if we have, let's just say 42 times 1 equals, not 24, what am I doing? 42. There we go. The inverse property, let's use addition for this one because the example that we used above was multiplication, getting down to 1. But the inverse, with addition, it goes down to 0. So let's see, 14 over 3 minus 14 over 3 equals 0. And this might look like we're using multiplication because we have fractions in here, but 14 over 3 is just a real number subtracted or added to the negative of itself. That's going to equal 0. But it can be written just like that. And then distributive property, we'll keep this one simple as well. We'll just do x 1 plus 2 equals x plus 2x. And that's everything. If you have more specific questions about this content, please talk to me or Ms. Kavanaugh in class or email me or Ms. Kavanaugh. See you there.